welcome back to another video. As I said in the last one, my daily has now gone. It's bit of the dust. The only thing I've kept out of it was the FE3. It was a trusty Kia Sportage Mark 1. Honestly, as a daily vehicle, it's probably the best vehicle I've ever owned because it just worked. It's just over its age, electrics were going, starting to rust up a bit. Mechanically, it was starting to go really, but the engine was mint, and so that FE3 will go in something else. Obviously, between me and Gregor, we don't know yet. Either he'll have it or I'll have it. Either way, it's sitting there. It's going to get used. So anyway, I was in the lookout for a daily vehicle. Now, to be honest, being cheap, I was going to get something classic because generally I'm always here. Don't have to commute, really. And if I do, I'll just use the MX-5. So the idea was to get something that's free road tax. And the time of filming this, I know they're trying to be doing this per mile scheme, but classics, we don't know whether they're going to get charged. Something cool to go camping with. It will tow a caravan or a trailer or a car trailer. Generally do everything it wants to do. And also, I think I mentioned it in the last video, I borrowed Gregor's short wheelbase, freshly restored short wheelbase, twice, I think. Just we went out to local meet and stuff, and it was amazing. And at that point, I kind of fell in love. So I'm already giving it away what this vehicle's going to be, aren't I? Either way, I'll show you now. Ta-da! Right, so what we have here is it's a Bitzer. Let's be honest, it's a Bitzer. She originally would have been a Series 2. I like the 2A, generally because the headlights are in the middle. The Series 3 arguably has got the better headlights because they're on each side, not in the central beam and all that kind of cack. But to be honest, that's what I'd prefer the look of. I know nothing about them, by the way. Literally nothing. So apart from most of the electrics are shared with everything else that's Lucas, like the switchgear, not the switchgear, the indicator stalk and everything on it is exactly the same as what's in my B. But to be honest, a vehicle on cart springs is a vehicle on cart springs. So, and it's built in the UK. There ain't going to be much really I'm not going to have to figure out in this thing. I mean, if I can't figure it out without a hammer, then I really need to be looking at a different hobby, don't I? So anyway, she's a 1963, or originally something on it was a 1963. Or 62, something like that. Short wheelbase. The good part about it is I wanted one that I could just use straight away as daily. There was plenty of projects out there and I could have saved some money by getting one, but because the Kia was on its way out, I needed something that could just work straight away. So I was looking at a few. Most of them were rotten and I couldn't be arsed with it and welding dumb irons and everything. But like I say, it's not out of the capability. It's just I had a budget because of selling the Anglia as well, for this one. So I probably spent more than I really wanted to because I am cheap, very cheap. But anyway, the good thing about this is the previous owner went to town on it. So she's got is it a Williams chassis? Either way, it's a Galv chassis. It's a Galv chassis, got some sort of HD steering arm things on it. They're obviously I'm never going to put them to their capability. So, yeah. What else did I do? 200 TDI, which that was a must. It needed to be a diesel, really. I was going to go with just the standard diesel that came in these, but the 200 TDIs in Gregor's long wheelbase, I kind of liked. And also, as my own personal car for getting company cars of the past, that is the first diesel vehicle I've ever owned. So, and I mean, they're pretty bomb-proof, apparently, touch wood. Don't know how many miles are on it. It has a new cam belt because that's one job we actually did check. We took everything off, which is a pain in the arse job in its own, but we took all the front timing case off, water pump and all that, and had a look, and it has added timing belt. So at least I know that doesn't need doing. Apart from the Galv chassis, I've put on some new tyres, which are the correct radius, but in a more modern all-terrain, I think, or in the mud terrains, either or whatever they are. Because the previous ones were too small and she was screaming when you're going down the road. I mean, it screams now, but not as bad. What else have we done? Obviously, when I got it, she didn't have the roof rack. It certainly didn't have the roof tent. So those two have been added since it's been purchased. Neither did it have the fuel carrier at the top, which I made a few weeks ago. I'm trying to think what else it didn't have. It had the original military seats, which are horrific and were giving me backache, and I used it for a few weeks and I was starting to worry that I bought the wrong vehicle because my back was hurting bad, but it turns out it's because the seats were just kaput. Because of being ex-military, she came out of the military in 1973. It would have had just literally, it might as well have just been sitting on that, to be honest, because they were shocking. So they've been replaced, but I'll show you more about that anyway. Like I say, it's a bit of a bitzer. She's got a Series 3 bulkhead. Previous owner repaired all that and has done a fantastic job. Brand new footwells, galv footwells, brand new A-pillars, galv A-pillars as well. All around the top of the heater vents have all been replaced. Literally, she is mint in terms of that. So I shouldn't need to muck about with any of the welding side of things for a very long time, considering I'm going to be using this as a daily vehicle, as and when it works and doesn't break. Yeah. The previous owner literally did some serious off-roading sessions, but I've got some pictures of her in some ridiculous sand dunes and everything. It's got a rebuilt steering box as well. That's another thing to add. Brakes, it stops on a dime. I mean, for one of these, it literally, and Gregor would testify to this, it literally just, it ram on the anchors. It stops like a modern car. And if I'm completely honest, this stops better than the Kia, and that was discs. What else has she got in her? I think that's about it, really. But I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll give you a bit of a tour, and then you'll kind of see what we've got there, and that'll be it. But obviously, you'll be seeing more of this because we'll be doing off-roading days. I've already done one green laning day, but I will be doing more with it because I'm kind of interested in doing that now because I've kind of been bitten by the bug, and I didn't want anything sort of modern. I could have gone for an early Defender, to be fair, because they're MOT exempt and everything, but I like the simplicity of this, and it seems as time goes on, I'm actually retreading my dad's footsteps in vehicles that he owned. I think up to yet, when I was chatting to him the other day, he hasn't had MGB, MG Midget, haven't had a Vespa moped yet, but I need a TR4A, pretty much because he had a short wheelbase, so, and he used it for a load of building work, and I've got to do some building work. So, you know what I mean? She's going to work for a living, but sorted. I wanted a sorted vehicle, that's what I'm trying to get at. So anyway, let me show you around her. So, here we go. 1963-ish. 2A. I wonder if, you know what, I bet I've not locked it. Hey, I've not. So, as you can see, the dashboard's a bit, yeah, it's not great. But there is another one of these around the side, apparently, so Gregor says, so which isn't great either, but at least I can recover the top. I prefer the 2A dash, I will admit, but it's got this, and as you can see, well, I'll tell you what I'll do is let me get the torch and we'll go back to that bit. Let me show you how good it is. Oh, drop in the torch. Right, let's show you. I mean, let's be honest. Most of them are all rusty and rotten around the central tunnel area. She's not. Look at all that. I mean, it is minter than mint. I mean, if I'm honest, it could do with new foot plates if you really wanted to, because I mean, they're a bit sort of scabby on the edges, but really, does it really need them? It's the same on that side. Look at, I mean, it is minter than mint, really. Obviously, while they had the chassis off, they've really done a good job. Okay, I don't like the colour of the paint, and the chassis is painted that, apart from the areas you can see. But yeah, I mean, the idea was to get a 2A frame, where the dash frame is, and move the binnacle to the centre, and put it back to a 2A. Okay, there'd have to be some cutting apparently to the bulkhead. And after thinking about it, you know what? I like kind of it's growing on me, the cubby hole and everything. So I think, to be honest, you'll probably stay this way. It would be such a shame to be making any cuts into this if I was going to do it properly to make this a 2A, even though the hinges are incorrect. It's the I don't know. I'm just going to be using it, so hey. The Coca-Cola box we just put in, we got that from a car boot or something. It's been absolutely brilliant for putting stuff in. So that's fantastic, shoving all the junk in. New seats, courtesy of RST, but they're Britpart ones. You'll be hearing a lot more from RST. We've put in a CB. Now, the previous owner put that piece of wood in, and I'm presuming it was for some sort of shelving, which you'll see what we've done in a moment. CB, we've put a curtain in just because in winter when I come to use it, it just will keep the heat in. Now, one thing, obviously you can see the camp beds. That's because we've got a roof tent. Obviously, we've just been camping with her, so that's the reason why. That cubby box at the back is also just all for space, so they're not rattling around. What I have done also is, because they're pants in them, is fitted a diesel heater. So she's got a diesel heater, and that's just obviously behind the back there, and it's plumbed into the tank. Somebody's put new door tops and a new door on that side. This one, as you can see, she's a bit scabby, as most of them are. The door top's pretty recent, it's not too bad, but the issue is this top runner has literally had it. Let me turn that torch off. Yeah, so I do have this. I've bought it, so I've got them ready to go on. But it's a fairly recent door top. I'd say at least in the last 10 years or so, maybe. But the door bottom, yeah, it did have a massive dent on this side, which is that my dad's pulled out. She's lived her life. I mean, the rear pocket areas or rear overhangs, obviously she's been down a bomb hole and smacked him because somebody's put a bit of filler there, but there is metal behind it. The reason why we know it's been smacked is because this side, it's, yeah, pretty bad. So the idea is to find a new tub at some point. You can see by the rivets on the cappings are all too big. So the idea is to get that sorted as well. Let me see whether... No, I'll get the keys for that. I'll go around this side. There's a dual battery setup I put in her. And a split charger, obviously. So, I mean, it is pretty much what you'd expect of a Land Rover of this ilk, except the dash being the incorrect one. And I'm sure if there's any aficionados for Land Rovers here, they'll be going, oh, that's the wrong one. I know, but hey-ho. Let's go in the back, shall we? Find the key. Let's get the torch. So as I said in the previous video, we've got a dog. Well, we've got a new little puppy. So it didn't have back seats in it, so I bought a back seat again from RST. This is what I was on about with the shelving, which, as you can see, has been fantastic for camping. So we can just wink everything up there. It's out of the way, and they can stick the cool box in here. And there you go. Anyway, the spare battery and the diesel heater. And then we also put in, because I'm cheap and I could have bought one, but I didn't want to, I made it instead. We have just the usual camping tray table, covered in a fetching stainless. Oh, there it is. So yeah, let's get that back up there if I can. There we go. So that's it. There she is. Like I say, she's lived a life. You can see the galv coming through there with the paint's chipped. But at least I'm going to worry about a chassis for the next 30 years. The one thing it does need, as you can tell, is the rear springs. Now, we thought it was because the roof tent's on, but if I'm honest, they're the old type springs. So I'm going to go for parabolics on her, just because it would make more sense for road handling and daily driving. I'll show you the motor. And there she is. Land Rover's finest 200 TDI. Some people say one of the best engines they ever put in them. Like in the Disco and everything. It's not in, obviously, in these. It didn't come in these. And the Disco 1 and a Defender, I think they were. Again, I don't know much about these vehicles, so it's a big learning curve for me. Yeah. So you're going to find out, and obviously people will pick me up on stuff. The heater needs a hose, which I have got, so that's another thing that can be done. It could do with a new radiator, to be fair. I mean, it's a bit... yeah. The only thing it also hasn't got is the splash guards, or the arch guards. So the airbox can be put back over there. It did have a snorkel at some point. And you can see the mounts. But the idea is, which Greg has got for me... and I'll buy him the Series 2A ones, because these will be Series 3 ones, because the wings are a bit of a mishmatch, is put the intake back in there. Obviously refitted these panels, and that's about it. I mean, it is what it is. It's Series 2 bits of Land Rover. Series 2 by the reg, but it's bits of everything. So there we go, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's obviously not a very long one. I'm just showing you around the Landee, but you will be seeing more of this little puppy. because we'll be using it more, and it'll be my daily. And as I said before, we're going on laning things and all that kind of stuff you do with a landing and adventures with it. So I hope you enjoyed it anyway, and I shall see you in the next one.